Okay, so after one of the most chaotic events in Nepal's recent history, the government dropped a massive 800-page report. We're going to deconstruct that official investigation to figure out not just what happened, but more importantly, why it happened, and what it all means.
What's really interesting is that the government's report doesn't start by pointing fingers. It starts with this question, a question that honestly you could ask about a lot of places in the world right now. It really sets the tone for everything that comes next.
An inferno. That's the word the commission uses to describe the protests. And they argue that to understand that fire, you first have to understand the generation that lit the spark. Because these aren't just random faces in a crowd, they represent a huge shift in society.
To really get what happened, the investigation actually zooms way out. It doesn't even start in Nepal. It begins by framing the Bhadra protests as part of a much bigger, global story, the rise of these youth-led, digitally powered movements.
And right at the center of this wave, the report points to one key player, Generation Z. For this group, the internet isn't just a cool gadget, it's woven into the fabric of their lives. The report literally calls it a minimum necessity for existence. And believe me, that detail becomes super important later.
And look, the report makes it clear this isn't just some abstract theory. They put the Bhadra protests right alongside these other recent youth uprisings. From Sri Lanka to Kenya, you can see this clear pattern emerging. A generation connected like never before, just hitting its breaking point with the way things are.
Okay, so that's the global picture. Now let's zoom back into Nepal. How did this global trend find such perfect, tinder to catch fire? The report really paints this picture of a national tinderbox that's been slowly filling up for decades. And this timeline, wow, it really gets to the core of the issue. According to the investigation, between 2046 and 2081 on the Nepali calendar, that's a 35-year span, the country had 30 different governments. 30. Just think about that level of constant change. It created this deep-seated frustration and, frankly, a total loss of faith in the system.
So, this is what was filling that tinderbox. The report points to all these sources of anger that have been festering for years. We're talking about massive corruption, terrible public services, and this general feeling that the same politicians were just failing them over and over again. All it needed was a single spark.
So you have this national powder keg, just waiting. The question is, what was the spark that finally set the whole thing off?
And here it is. The commission identified this single moment as the immediate trigger. On Bhadra 19th, the government decided to ban a bunch of social media platforms, saying they needed to control things and bring them into the tax system. But see, for Gen Z, this wasn't about losing a place to post memes. The report really hammers this point home. This was seen as a direct attack on their money, on their livelihood. For so many young people, social media had become this absolutely vital way to make a living. So taking it away felt like someone was stealing their future.
And the reaction? Well, it was instant. As the official report details, things just spiraled into that inferno we talked about, and it completely consumed the capital city.
The commission breaks down exactly how things escalated on that first day, Bhadra 23rd. It starts as a peaceful march, but then as they get closer to the parliament building, protesters break through the police lines. Police respond with water cannons, protesters throw stones back, and then, tragically, the clash turns deadly.
The human cost was just staggering. Across those 2 days, the commission confirmed a total of 76 deaths.
And on top of the people who lost their lives, the official count shows 2,522 people were injured, and that number includes both protesters and the security forces.
The physical destruction was also on a massive scale. The investigation estimated the cost of all the arson, the vandalism, and the looting at a staggering 85 billion Nepali rupees.
So after all this investigation, sifting through all the evidence, what did the commission actually conclude? Well, it's fascinating because they don't just lump it all together. They essentially tell two completely different stories for the 2 days.
And this is maybe the most important finding in the entire report. They draw this really sharp line between the 2 days. Bhadra 23rd, they say, was a real Gen Z-led protest. It was a genuine reaction to the ban and all those years of frustration. But Bhadra 24th, that was something else. The report says it was this spontaneous explosion of pure rage over the deaths from the day before, and that chaos was then hijacked by criminal groups and looters who just saw a chance to cause mayhem.
So what's the big takeaway here? According to the report, this isn't something you can fix with a few new rules or better security.
The commission is calling for a complete and total overhaul of how the country is run, everything from political parties to the courts to basic public services. They're demanding systemic solutions for what they see as systemic problems.
And that brings us to the final, really provocative question the report leaves us with. It perfectly captures this tension that's playing out not just in Nepal, but all over the world. You have this new generation with new demands and new ways of organizing, clashing with old systems that just don't know how to respond. And the answer to that question? Well, that's still up in the air.